lately to prove that I do something other than boats in the harbor. This one is one, and I just came back from a trip to China last weekend, so I whipped out a picture of one of the scenes on the streets in China, which is really an interesting spot. And then, of course, this was a picture that my daughter took in New York City. So she took it at night, so I thought that's supposed to be the moon up there. So I painted her a picture of New York City at night. So, but don't be alarmed, I'm going to paint a boat today, maybe, if I ever get the okay. Are we ready? You don't want to break the camera yet. Are we on yet? Yes, she says yes. She nods her head. Well, it's quite an honor to be amongst all these distinguished artists. I recognize Magna Driscoll, who came down from Gold Beach. I recognize Lynn and Dorothy and Mr. Swart, all a number of folks here, and Kathy, and all you folks that are as good as I am or better. And I don't know why I'm demonstrating to you, but that's your problem. So you're here and watching. It's fun. I always have fun doing it. I never got too serious about it. But in the last 10 years, I decided I would try something new, which is very wet on wet, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate today. I had this made. I used to use a large sink, but it burned up a couple of years ago. So I had this made, and which I soaked my paper, 140-pound paper, maybe anywhere from 4 or 5 hours to 12 to 14 hours, no more than that. It starts destroying the paper once it goes after 14, 15 hours. So this has been soaking just this morning, and I brought it in. I dripped it all over the floor as I came in here, and I think it'll dry. And so I have made a drawing on the paper beforehand. And of course, as you well know, the drawing is your key to everything. If you don't have a decent drawing, then all the rest of it is sort of wasted. Now, I don't claim this is a decent drawing, but it's been one I feel fairly confident in because I've done it several times. The picture of the harbor with the ice plant back there and the water in the front. So I figured, I don't know how it'll come out, but the worst it'll be is a nice wet piece of paper. So. Now the other thing I do is a little different. I put it on a board that's linoleum. This is a piece of linoleum board, and it won't absorb the water too much. It's going to keep it wet for quite a while. So I want to keep it. I keep the paper pretty wet, and for a certain amount of time. I don't care how wet it is at first, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw over it and make impressions with plain old pencil of of the scene that I started with, which is the ice plant, a fishing boat, the pier, and some foreground things. So my first effort here is to put some pencil marks on here, and I like generally a good, and I don't care if I miss a little bit, because the whole process that I do is, it's kind of splashy, and it doesn't matter if you miss a few things, because I think that painting, and particularly watercolor, is a form of letting something take care of itself. And watercolor is something that I think is best when the water takes care of itself. So I allow it to do most of the work. I do have some kind of an idea of maybe the steam of what I'm doing, but the fact that my pencil marks over here don't always correspond to the ones underneath doesn't bother me a bit. What's interesting is once in a while I can draw a straight line in my old age here. The mast of fishing boats are always a challenge. See how they come out. Sometimes they're tilted over, but as I say, it really doesn't matter. One of the things that happens, in my estimation, when you put these lines into the, as you can see, it's getting impressed in there, is that it makes it easier. In some cases, I don't have to do anything with them. You'll see that quite often the paint will dip into those lines that I've impression of the lines, and particularly if they're lines on the boat or something, I don't have to do anything else. They'll sit there and work for themselves. So as I say, it's kind of a process of seeing how much you can cheat. I got some people on that. So I work this fairly fast. I don't. And of course I threw in the lighthouse here. And
I hope you all appreciate Sylvia's back-breaking work. Look how she has to angle.
Oh, gee. Hi there. What's up there? I think it's kind of fun. The good old Crescent City Art Gallery has really come a long way with their cameras and TVs. Wow. I guess I was telling somebody one of the reasons I like the water for one thing, and the boats have such beautiful lines. They're something like women.
Ooh.
And they're all she's, you know. Now here's a place, the side of that ice plant that has the boards on it. I probably won't ever have to do anything more than those pencil marks on it. Okay, any suggestions so far? I'm open. As you can see, I have a lot of fun with it. I don't. Oh yeah, this is one of those ice plants down there. I tried to make it. And I bought some pink paint just for that ice plant. Never could believe it. There's a reason for that, obviously, especially if you're splashing around. I generally use, I've got enough, I guess. I start out in the sky, I generally use cobalt. And then I don't, I'm not sure I like just blue, so I sometimes add something else.
I don't need that.
It's kind of reddish. I don't know what it is exactly. But just put a little pink in there, just, you know, or
Mr. President, down in front.
mostly
Nothing else,
cobalt.
Kathy, you can use that to just brace your arm off.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing all right in here? I guess so.
Mhm.
Goodness sake.
Just imagine how much you could see if we didn't have that television camera. I know.
Well, that's true, that's true. That's good for that. Okay, so I got a little sky. Well, I don't have down quite as much. Now, sometimes, as you might well imagine, the paint bleeds into the other areas. Sometimes the impression part will keep it from totally running in there. So this kind of painting is pretty good for water. And first thing we got to do is I'm going to put into that darker part will probably be behind the pilings there of the. So we'll start here with a little darker color. And this is going to bleed quite a bit in some cases. I'll leave some spots here. At the boat. And the quite a bit of where the ice plant is. I don't pay too much attention to the fact that our Crescent Harbor doesn't have that pure blue water always. And I just came back from as I said, China. I went up the Yangtze River, and believe me, it is as brown as any river you've ever seen. It's terribly brown, unfortunately.
They don't worry too much about pollution, do they?
Well, they claim they do now, which is interesting. But it doesn't seem to work out that way. And let's see, we're going to have to put something here in this. Oops. Put some of that later. I think I'll use my pink now. Wonderful pink for that. See what happens here. Little pink on there. All right. Now, I find that basically that's about as good as I want to use this. That's just some background. I invented some trees behind the boat. What they're doing out there in the ocean, I don't know.
Mountain.
Yeah, it's all right. Now, as I say, now it's, you can see it, a lot of that stuff is blending in the water and so forth. I'll put a little, maybe a little more here. And you'll, just for the heck of it. But I'm gonna now switch boards, because now I want it to kind of dry out a little. You can see this linoleum board just kept it wet as anything. So I don't. Now I put it on a plane. I suppose I could put it on something else and use a dryer or something, but I put it on just a regular board now, and we'll see what happens as I try to be restrained in my colors here. I'm going to go back over some of them, but I also want to get that ice plant in there. Let's see. Got a little dark side on there, a little purple will do that for me.
Can we ever talk you into a little afternoon watercolor workshop?
Have you
2 day
ever?
or 3 day or we can talk you into?
I don't know why you would do that.
Why or why not?
Well, I don't care. I mean, I did one up in Brookings this summer. Seemed to work out all right. Shady side. That's certainly up to you. I mean,
Before or after Thanksgiving?
well, I'm going to be gone, I think, and also I'm supposed to do this up in Brookings next a week from Thursday.
You're the demo upstairs, isn't it?
I don't know how they worked that out. but
It
they
was
did.
just a coincidence.
And I don't know why they want me, but they did.
You're fun to watch, and fun to take from.
Now here's a interesting little phenomenon I sometimes do. Run a dry, semi-dry brush down the pilings. And see, it's halfway there. It's always fun to see what
Why
what
did you
world's
turn it
gonna happen.
around so that they can,
Hmm?
why did you turn it around so they can see
Okay.
that this person?
Let me improve it just a little.
see it on the screen.
It shows up on
We're
the
seeing it,
television.
Kathy, on the screen.
Oh, even at an angle?
Yeah.
But this is the real thing here.
Yes, yes. I'm sure it was different.
See it? All it needs is just a little spit and polish and it's done.
Last time, I think there was something wrong with our science, and so we didn't have that screen, so Rick obligingly painted upside down.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't do that. Let's see. I am. water is too bad, but I'm not. I'm going to just a second. I'm going to change water if you don't mind. I like nice, clean water. If you don't mind, I'll
This, the pause. This one? Yeah.
Rose or? You want it?
As I say, I'm going to go over some of these. I say that, as long as you're having fun, it's a good painting.
Man.
However it turns out. And, it only costs a little paint and one of these pieces of paper. I cut the, the $6 pieces in half. So that's about as cheap of fun you can have.
Good point.
And let's see. Probably a little early to do any detail work, but I'll sacrifice myself in the interest of speed. What time is it? How long?
12:30.
Gee, I'll have to make believe it's harder than this and take longer. I don't know. It isn't hard. It's fun.
I'd like to put a sign-up sheet for your watercolor class. So when will you return from your trip, or you want to do it before you leave?
Not in November.
Not in November.
But then everybody's ready for Christmas.
Okay. How about January?
That sounds more like it.
Okay. Any particular, just one or two afternoons, or just one afternoon, or 3 afternoons? All day?
Well, you know what?
What?
As you can see, it doesn't take me long to show people what I do. So I would think, one would be enough.
What's your best day?
Well, I teach up in Brookings on Mondays, so not Monday.
Monday.
Other than that, it's all right. I go out on
Is Friday a good day for you?
Oh, I guess so. What's today? Thursday? Today's Thursday. Thursday's good.
Thursday, there's a lot going on, but we're already here for the third Thursday.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so you're already in town on the third Thursday. How about the third Thursday in January, after our business meeting, we all go out to lunch and have a nice afternoon watercolor.
Well, people bring their watercolors and do it, right?
Right.
I just sort of encourage them.
Yeah, well, maybe a little demo. A little demo. A little demo.
Little paint on.
Okay, I'm going
Whatever you say, I think it's fun, and I have no objections to doing that. If that's what you want, I'm happy to do it. Now I got pink down here. I got sort of a burnt sienna up here, and some neutral colors here. I've got that Scarlet Lake that red, I gotta use some of it someplace. What was that?
Your palette drips a little bit.
Oh, okay. That'll be interesting. There's a cloud coming in over off on the horizon. Gotta use a little of that. So the buoy, the life buoy on the boat will be.
The stripe?
Hmm?
The stripe?
Oh, well, that'll have to use your imagination for that one. Let's see. I got a roof there. I think I'll make that roof. I don't want to pay attention to what it really is. That would be too much. I'll put a green in there. And these mountains in the background are pretty bad. They're not telling me much of anything. So I'll have to jazz them up. With some trees or something. And then our famous islands.
You know what color green that is, Rick? That pretty green you just used?
This stuff.
This stuff?
There.
Any
That,
recollection?
that's a green.
Not Meridian.
No, it could be something like Viridian or
No.
the green.
Light.
Green. I don't know what green. It's as a matter of fact, somebody gave me a bunch of paints once, and they were in Spanish or Irish or something. I don't know what they were, and I just squirted them out on the palette. And one of them was that green. So it's just plain, like grass green is what it is. Normal type of green. I don't know. What would it be? Anything? I don't know.
Yellow green.
Yeah, there's greens, all kinds.
I mean, put yellow in it.
Let's see. Still gonna add a little bit here and there to the back of the dock. I want it to be pretty strong, and of course when you do this wet on wet, it fades. There's no question about it. And then you have to realize that once in a while, there's a point when it dries and then you start messing with it, you get all of those, what do you call those, little blobs of edges. You don't want those blobs of edges. Blossoms, that's a term some people use. So you don't want many blossoms if you can help it. I mean, this was wet enough so when I dumped the water on it, it didn't seem to make any difference. Let's see, what do I got here left? I'll get I bought all these brushes, I gotta use so many. All of this stuff I got since the fire, which is kind of amazing. I feel pretty good that I got most of it back. I think one of the things that I do that some of the good artists do is that their use of light is better than what I do. Everything I do is right on the surface, and I don't, in most cases, this one a little bit, where you've got the intense colors all the way through in this one. Here I got some lighter ones in the background. And, you know, the good artists recognize the fact that there are distances and that the light is softer and not as concentrated. But I put everything right there in front on top of the heck with it. So once in a while I get ambitious and try to get clever and make things look like they're in the distance and have different things. But for the most part, I just put everything right up front. It's dry enough so I can do a little of this now. Careful. It'll and because that bled into there, I'm going to try to open that up a little bit. Yep. Okay, well, I see that the masts and the rigging on that boat, I just let the pencil marks do the work on that. Oh yes, there's some windows up there in the, we'll see what happens here. Boy, it's a lot easier to paint windows than put them in the house. Okay, maybe, probably not. And I can also strengthen a few things. And here's the coup de grace. I do use Chinese white once in a while. It doesn't really do much, but I do use it for that. I got a ladder on that dock. Most of the time my fingers are blue, and so I run around and I wipe them off, greens and blue. One day I had some red on there and I tried to scrub it off. I found out I'd cut myself.
And your wife had to tell you you were on fire.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of didn't notice that. Yeah, no.
Don't remind me of that. Yep. They don't let me have matches anymore. Okay, we're just about going to let this one go. Okay. Now, I let it dry before I put my name on it. I'm finished. That's enough. You've seen enough.
Same time next year.
I do the same thing every year.
And we love it.